Hey there, I'm Julie, and this is the Married to Addiction podcast. If you're here, then you're probably what I call my secret sister. We're in a situation we never asked to be in and fighting a battle we never wanted to fight. We're faith-filled women who are married to an alcoholic, and it affects every inch of our lives. If that sounds like you, then this is a safe place for you to land. Married to Addiction is a faith-based podcast where I help you find the tools and strength you need to navigate your husband's addiction without losing yourself in the process. So please subscribe and tune in as often as you can, because your husband's recovery is important, but so is yours. The Married to Addiction podcast is brought to you by the Secret Sister Circle. The Secret Sister Circle private group coaching program was designed to take the Christian wife of an alcoholic from hurting to healing. If your life feels unmanageable because of your husband's drinking, if you feel consumed by his addiction and you're constantly trying to figure out how to stop it, if you have let everything else in your life fall by the wayside, including yourself, then the SSC was created for you. I actually built the SSC around what I needed back when my husband was deep in addiction. I clearly remember sitting on the floor of my closet one day, just bawling and frantically searching Google for help. I couldn't really find what I needed, which was help, detailed help, step-by-step help, designed for a Christian wife, because it was also super important to me to have that element built in because of my faith. And I wanted to be guided by that, from that angle. So if that sounds like you, we would love to have you join us in the Secret Sister Circle. You can get the help you need without feeling exposed. It's a private online program with a private online community of other wives just like you. And you are taken step by step through every possible scenario that you could encounter as the wife of an alcoholic. We would love to have you join us. You can get started beginning today and start moving towards healing. Just go to www.marriedtoaddiction.com and look for the tab that says Secret Sister Circle. We'd love to have you join us. Hello, and welcome to episode 97 of the Married to Addiction podcast. Today's episode is called Dealing with Triggers. So today I want to talk to you about how to deal with our triggers. So the ones our husband does or maybe doesn't do something, and our heart starts racing, we feel our anger rising, or maybe our hands get clammy and we begin to feel an overwhelming sense of fear, dread, or anxiety, things like that. Triggers can pull you down into a deep pit and keep you there. They can also influence your actions, which may or may not be rational in the moment. In my case, they definitely weren't a lot of times. And I caused myself some problems, actually a lot of problems, because of that. So it's really important to talk about how to deal with these things because they can send us into a spiral. But it feels so hard not to react to triggers in the moment, right? We are dealing with triggers almost daily, if not daily, as wives of alcoholics, wondering when the other shoe is going to drop, wondering if he's drinking, how much he's drinking, is he driving, ways that he acts when he's drunk. Like I remember I would just be able to look at my husband's eyes and I knew right away it was a massive trigger for me. Also, I'm sure you've heard me talk about how I was actually really glad that my husband was sober by the time COVID rolled around, because I could not smell hand sanitizer for a long time after he got sober because it smelled like alcohol, and it immediately triggered me, just like psychologically, even physically, like I would start having like that heart palpitation thing. So it's really, really important for us to get a handle on this, but it is really hard to not react in the moment. So today I want to give you 3 tips on how to better handle your triggers for your own good. So the first is, of course, we have to know what they are. Now, I can look back and see what mine were so much more clearly now, because hindsight's always 20/20. But it's really even more important to know what they are when you're in the moment and when you are being triggered on a regular basis. So identifying our triggers beforehand can really help us get ahead of the game. because once we have identified and named them, we will feel less caught off guard by them. And that's how you start to get a handle on this. So, for example, yes, here's my massive anxiety. I was expecting you to show up when I got home and saw my husband drinking. Or here comes that huge rush of anger that I knew was going to come. And the last time that this happened, there was a big scene in front of the kids. Identifying them like that beforehand can keep you from feeling less bowled over and reactive in the moment. And as I mentioned in that second example, this not only affects you, but it affects others too. So identify them beforehand, step one. The second tip is, now that you've identified them, you can decide ahead of time what you're going to do about them. So you've identified that you will likely have anxiety in one of the aforementioned scenarios, but what then? What will you do then? Trying to be in charge of your what then once you're in that situation and feeling that feeling is going to be almost impossible, because at that point you are running on full adrenaline and you're in fight or flight mode, and it's off to the races, right? You've already been triggered. It's already happening. And so making a decision then will probably be a totally different decision than if you think about this beforehand. So it's super important to decide beforehand how you are going to handle something when you become triggered. So, for example, you could decide that first you're going to distract yourself. You're going to go take a hot shower. You're going to use a calming app on your phone, do some deep breathing, maybe listen to one of these podcast episodes. I know a lot of women have written to me and said that they do that with the podcast episodes. And also my Secret Sister Circle members say that a lot of times when they're feeling those things, when they're feeling triggered, they go and watch or listen to a lesson. It's just important to have a plan. Have a plan ahead of time and decide what you're going to do once you get into that moment. Lastly, decide what to do next. So after you've identified it, after you've taken whatever action you're going to take in the moment, decide what you're going to do next, but do it later. Do it later. Is a conversation necessary? If so, it's always best to wait until you've calmed down, because then you can actually make a better determination as to whether or not the conversation is necessary. You also always want to wait until your husband is sober to do something like have a conversation, right? Because it's not going to land. You're not going to get your desired result. I mean, you might not anyway if he is sober, but you're definitely not if he's drunk. You cannot reason with a drunk person. Or maybe you decide that what you need to do next is nothing. Once you've calmed down, once you're out of that fight or flight mode and you have identified ahead of time that you would be here and that these feelings would be brought up, and you've decided what you were going to do in that moment, maybe after that moment has passed, you decide, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm just not even going to say anything because it's not going to get me anywhere. I will not achieve my desired result by having a conversation. It's just going to be a blow up in front of the kids, like we talked about earlier. Remember that the end goal is always protecting your peace. Now, in some scenarios, having a conversation is what you need to do to protect your peace. And again, go about that the right way. Have a God-led conversation. But maybe that truly is what you need to do to protect your peace, and that's fine. But in some instances, as I said, it might be better for you to do nothing to protect your peace. So whatever will lead you there to being peaceful about it is the right decision. So I encourage you to take some time over the next few days to jot down some of your triggers and then create your game plan. So, for example, journaling about this ahead of time and writing down some notes, identifying your triggers, thinking about what you'll do ahead of time can really be a huge game changer. And of course, if you need additional help with specifics around things like this, it's what we do all day, every day in the SSC, strategizing and making plans for how we will deal with things specifically. So, if you would like to join us, we would love to have you. You can learn more about the Secret Sister Circle, which is my private group coaching for Christian wives of alcoholics at marriedtoaddiction.com. You can find out all about it there. And again, we'd love to have you join us. So I hope that's been helpful, telling you a little bit more about triggers and how to deal with them. As always, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Some big news for you today. I have a brand new, powerful, free coaching series that was taken directly from the Get Off of the Addiction Roller Coaster event that I had earlier this year. I have rebuilt it as a free coaching series that you can sign up for, and it will help you, just like the title says, get off of the addiction roller coaster. Even if you think your husband will never get sober, there is still so much you can do to reduce the chaos in your life and stop feeling so helpless. So, if you feel like your life is out of control and you aren't sure what to do next, and every single day just feels like an emotional roller coaster, then this is the absolute best place for you to start. So, in this coaching series, we talk about some traps that you may have fallen into, how you can access and position the power that you already have, which you may not even realize you have, and how to use the right tools in your situation. After going through this free coaching series, you'll know how to reduce the friction and conflict in your home. You'll be able to provide a more peaceful environment for yourself and your family. You'll know exactly what to do when tense or stressful moments arise, and you will experience a refreshed spirit and renewed empowerment. Now, this coaching series is all delivered to you via email, and you just log into a private platform to access each day's content. I think you're going to get so much out of this, and it is absolutely free. To sign up today, just head to marriedtoaddiction.com/roller coaster. Hope you decide to join me there.